Well, hello, EKN Nation. Rob Howden here for a new edition of our Face2Face. In fact, one of our new EKN Prime Time shows. It is 8 p.m. Wednesday, March the 8th. And again, getting ready to roll into a month of March that will be kind of dominated by action in the state of Florida. Otherwise, lots of racing getting ready to line up throughout the year through March, West Coast. Then, of course, April, May, things starting to kind of work their way up towards the northern climes where things will get going, of course, up in the Indiana area and up through to Michigan, Wisconsin. Eventually, maybe even in Canada, we'll get things rolling up here. David Cole alongside me, Dave. We got a great face-to-face lined up here today because one of the stories that we've seen happen over the last couple of years is the resurgence and the rebuilding of the Rotax Max program here in the U.S. And again, we'll have Justin Stefani joining us today. But again, that's a program that has been around for a long time in this country, a couple of decades. It's had some ebbs and flows, but seems to be most definitely on an upward turn.
Yeah, and as we were talking before the show started, it has helped to launch a lot of professional drivers' careers. There was a long period of time where you would see these kids racing mini max and eventually work their way up into the senior ranks. And now, drivers like Oliver Askew, Kyle Kirkwood, Lance Stroll, many others that
Devlin DeFrancesco,
Logan
Sargent.
Yes, Logan Sargent as well too. Yeah, and many more too.
Yeah.
Many drivers that have done the Road to Indy and now the USF Pro Championships as well. IMSA drivers, maybe a couple NASCAR drivers. Ricky Taylor, he's going to be
Miller.
Jordan Taylor, Mark Miller,
Master champion.
Cascar guy. So a lot of different. Again, it has a great base, and obviously can take you from the cadet level all the way up to the master, and it's a great club program, but it's also a great program around the world.
Yeah, it's that global program that gets run every year. Obviously, the big race of the year is, of course, the Rotax Grand Finals, the Olympics of karting, if you will, where so many nations meet each year. Drivers earning tickets and qualifying for their national team. One of the really cool things about global karting for sure. But again, you go back to the Florida Winter Tour days. Rotax was big. It was a challenge of the Americas base at one point. There was a time when Rotax racing was that massive kind of foundation, grassroots level of racing. Everybody came to the Grand Nationals every year as well to try to get tickets. It was a program that was massive. Now, they had some issues. It fell into harder times, tougher times. And then, of course, we saw the rise of the Miami power plant. We saw the influx then of the Vortex and the Rock Cup program. But as I said, through Race Rotax and the good folks at the J3 competition, the Rotax program, David, most definitely on the way back up. They've been building an East Coast and a West Coast series. There's the U.S. Trophy Final that we got a chance to go to last year. For really all told, man, there's just a lot of positivity happening right now with Rotax.
Yeah, they've gotten that hold at the foundation and slowly have built itself up. And again, 2023 is going to be another year of growth, another year of expansion, adding new service centers, adding clubs to the program, and then growing at those big events with the East program and the West program having more competitors. And of course, the U.S. Trophy Final will probably be, triple digits in terms of drivers there probably this year.
I think so too. So of course, this is a live show. It's interactive. If you're tuning right now in on YouTube or Facebook, feel free to ask questions. Throw them in the comments. They pop up in front of us here, and we're able to potentially bring them into the show. So we'd love to hear any questions you may have for our guest, who we'll bring in right now, Justin Stefani from J3 Competition. Justin, thank you so much for joining us out in Arizona. It's sunlight there still, a little darker here, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So let's just dive into this thing because really this is an opportunity for you and to talk about it, us to ask questions, others as well, about kind of the layout, right? The foundation of the Race Rotax program now here in the U.S. with the Trophy Series West Series, the Trophy Series East, all leading up, of course, to the the U.S. Trophy Final, rather, at Newcastle in September. I know you guys built the program last year, but you've been fine-tuning it, right? You've been down a couple of things in, made some changes here for 2023.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the cornerstones with Rotax is, right, everybody knows the longevity of the engine, the power of the engine per category. And then as you hit on it, the big thing is the grand finals, right? You can't really talk about the brand without talking about, okay, well, how does this link up to the grand finals? And so those, that's an event obviously that you have to earn. You can't pay for an entry for. So as Rotax has grown, as you talked about in the, earlier years, we would America would have multiple events, right, where you could hand out grand finals tickets. But because of the global dominance and growth of it, there's only so many tickets to go around. So for us, what a lot of people don't realize is, we only have 2 sets of tickets, right? And we have an entire country here to manage. So it's important to have, one sort of marquee race, which we do at the trophy final, and we feel for the growth and for getting, newcomers in, as well as bringing some people from abroad to spice up the event. We leave 1 set of tickets open. So that only leaves us with 1 set of tickets to cover East and West. It's not like we can run a West series and hand out a ticket in East, some of these things that were done in the past. So last year we onboarded with an East and a West program where, they were their own individual series. You took your points from those either the East or the West championships, brought that to the final race, and whoever had the most points, East or West driver, then got that, what we would call a reserve ticket. It worked pretty well last year. This year, what we did is we just kind of spiced it up a little bit to where you won't bring in the points from the East or West. If you participate in the East or West, that just makes you a qualified driver. Thus, when you come to that race in Newcastle, it's sort of a winners take all race for that reserve ticket. So, maybe if you had a bad race on the East or the West, or something happened, or you didn't quite have your Rotax program dialed up, you still have the rest of the year. You still get to show up and compete. And, we've seen that at, back in the day at other, national sanctioning bodies. There was always that one-off at the end of the year. And so we're kind of getting back to that. And I think that underscores your comment about fine-tuning the program, right, the best we can with our ticket limitations.
So let's have a look at it then. So the Trophy Series West, Trophy Series East, first couple of rounds of the Trophy Series U.S. Trophy Series West, just a couple of weeks away, actually, at the PKRA track in Phoenix. David, you were just there for an event. And then middle of March at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson. So it's an Arizona-focused West Coast program. 2 really good facilities, obviously, as we know, 2 of the best racetracks on the West Coast as well. So that'll get things kicked off. Any other information potentially about the West program you want to drop in here?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. I saw David. So Musselman race is middle of May. This one is in 2 weeks, March at PKRA. So you're good there. So PKRA, obviously both facilities in the Southwest, I think, are really the premier facilities that are 100% dedicated to competition karting, right? Which makes that really unique.
That's true.
Weather should be great. Everything's on racerotax.com's webpage. You can go to the trophy series, click on West, find all the pertinent information you need, from schedules to the awards. I think the one thing that's pretty cool that we'll do this year that we did last year is one day we run the tracks counterclockwise and one day we run the tracks clockwise. And I think for a regional program like this I think that creates a lot more excitement. You don't get the stagnation of, after the first day, so-and-so's quick, they got the track figured out. Then we're able to kind of flip that switch and we go the other way on the second day, which kind of really adds a lot more excitement. And I think for the regional focus, keeps the parity actually there. So on our Friday practice, we do split Friday. All right. Half the day is clockwise, the other half the day is counterclockwise. So it and a lot of these facilities run multiple configurations, but a lot of them, it just throws it off. So if you show up on a Thursday or a Friday, I feel, from our side at J3 and Race Rotax, it enables more parity, right? And again, keeps it a little fun for the competitors. So we'll continue with that. We have a few other, nice programs happening, prize packages, things like that. But again, it's kind of the kickoff of the journey to our apex of the year, which is the trophy final. And then from there, hopefully, we're going to award, 12 drivers that are going to head over to the Middle East and, represent the United States. So it's fun, and we're excited to get kicked off next week at the first 2 rounds.
So then we go to the West Coast, and I don't think you ran down 3 venues. I think last year down to 2 venues this year, another 2 double headers, June 16th, 17th, 18th at Pit Race, Pittsburgh International Race Complex, and then August 11th, 12th, 13th, New Jersey Motorsports Park. So different facilities potentially this year from last year. Is there a reasoning behind that, or what kind of details you want to kind of offer about the East racing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you got to look at the economic factors and everything that's happening in the sport, and what we're trying to do foundationally with the Rotax program is build club racing, build regional racing, which I feel there's a massive pocket in the United States for that right now. So we decided 2 weekends on both coasts are suitable, double headers. That's going to allow people to obviously maintain budget. It's going to cast a little bit larger net, I think, over getting people, maybe not so much at those races, but getting them intrigued in the club programs with the product. And then for the East, going with 2 races, we had 3 fantastic partners over the last 3 years. We went to OVRP, managed by Tim Hannon, just absolute phenomenal, iconically ran facility. We're at United Karting in DC with Devin Edwards, and they do a fantastic job there. And then, we were up northern New York, up by Syracuse at Tony and Tina Goddard's facility at Lafayette, and it was phenomenal. And I think the move was, when we knew we were going to go 2 races, part of it was, you always feel like those were, our 3 main guys, right? And you're like, okay, I don't feel kind of right, leaving one of them out. That doesn't feel correct.
It's like having 3 kids.
Yeah, right. I mean, you just, one of them's getting fed, one of them's not, right? So, that was a portion of it, but we got a lot of feedback with going back to Newcastle for that final race. Obviously, everybody knows Newcastle's a big track, iconic long straightaways. It races so much different than our core club tracks do in the country, which we still need to support. So they said, hey, I want to be more prepared when I come to Newcastle. A lot of the guys, they've never seen a track like that. So obviously with New Jersey, which we've been there a couple of years prior, and then with Pitt, obviously with what they've done with the resurgence there, and that's obviously a couple hours from our shop. It just kind of worked where we thought there were 2 kind of fairly premier facilities, if you will, that kind of embodied a little bit more of a transition for when these people want to compete at Newcastle. So again, and it's 2 weekends, right? So it allows them still to compete heavily at whatever club track they're at, OVRP or United Karting or whatever. So we thought it was a really good sort of journey to be able to get everybody prepared so they're ready for that U.S. Trophy final event in September.
Ahead of the season getting started, Justin, based on numbers, have you talked to some people? Are you expecting maybe some more shops to come in, some more teams to come in? What are your numbers looking like for the opening round at Phoenix? Are we going to see some growth here in 2023?
Yeah, I don't honestly see probably a massive growth per se in the West and or East series. I do see growth, but what we've really seen is a larger growth in sales and a larger growth of people that own the engines that are competing at the club. Okay. What I will say that we'll see, and David hit on this, is we'll definitely be in the 100+-ish range when we get to the final. We'll see a couple of the, air quote, bigger teams, if you will. Not that that's our major goal, but we're going to see a lot of people that are just now kind of getting the engines. They don't quite feel like that they're maybe ready to compete at a trophy East or West series, right? Even though they're very regional based, but they want to get it now. They want to be prepared to be able to come to the Newcastle race. And we'll even see that with a lot of the people that compete in our local Rotax categories at PKRA. We'll probably have 20 people that 15 to 20 people that won't show up to the race just because, they've had the package for 6 months, right? And they're still getting comfortable with it. And we've seen this over the years with everything, right? Even if it's a regional program, if it comes to town, you get some of the local guys that go, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for it, even though, they are. But so no, we look for it to be a continual growth. And we look for the final to be another level up from where we were last year. So yeah, it's all exciting on this side.
Let's talk about that final. It was, the way the schedule was, you guys did a good job trying to find a time. We ended up going like the middle of October, and thankfully we had a really great weekend in Indiana in the middle of October. You've moved it up a month. It's actually September 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, still at Newcastle Motorsports Park, but into the middle of September, weather's going to probably be even better. And there was a kind of a bit of a gap there to be able to have that event, which is great.
Yeah, no, it was good. Working with Mike Adams was phenomenal, as you guys know, in the facility there. And Mike, pulled his notepad out and said, here's my dates, and it was cool because we were able to actually book it when we were at the race. We had no conflicts. Obviously, last year unfortunately had a conflict. Plus, then we had another series put their race on the week after ours. So then, it's just an accordion effect, right? So right now we look solid. So, we kind of had a year notice, right, on that event. And I think the weather should be better. I think that timing's better. I think when you kind of get into October, people are already switching gears towards the reality of, what does the Vegas kind of shenanigans look like? And that's where their focus and budget and headspace is at, which is fine. Big races for North America, arguably the world, right? Some of the biggest. So I think it gets us out of that gap, lets people sort of have a little bit more managed year. And then obviously with the grand finals being in Bahrain this year, we were there 2 years ago. That's a long haul. So a lot of people, might be apprehensive on that, even though it's an easy flight. It's a phenomenal country, very easy to get around in. But it just gives people another window, right, to book flights, to get reservations.
That's true.
And then also to be prepared for that. I don't want to say once in a lifetime opportunity, because people go repetitively, and I hope people
like Derek Wang.
Yeah, Derek, it's once in a lifetime. He's like a cat, 9 lives, right?
I think he's got 11.
He might have 10. He might have 10 this year. So I think it's good, right? And then that allows us obviously then to kind of just plan and slowly manage what we have going into 2024. So it just works out really well, I think, for us, and I think it works out well for all of the shops and teams and competitors in the country as well.
We've talked about. Go, Dave. What do you got?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of very similar to, you got to build that foundation for that U.S. Trophy final. Finding a right date is a key element, and then kind of hopefully this will be cemented in as you can on. And then, as you said, the club guys who are looking to put a big race on their calendar every year, this could be that event, and they'll go off to the West program or they'll go off to the East to at least get that feel for that, and then maybe go to the trophy final just to kind of, again, everybody wants that one big race on the year. Road racers, it's like, say, Daytona, or dirt racers, it could be Tulsa or something like that. But I think it's great to see kind of that foundation getting built with the event, but the date is obviously a key element to that.
Yeah, it's like everything. You have to have sort of the apex, right, which is the trophy final, and then build a sensible journey for the competitors, right? And we know how big the sport of karting is, and sometimes it sort of gets shoehorned, and 2 or 3% of our actual sport dictates the other 97% of it. And it's really one of the major problems that we have is from a perception standpoint, people aren't looking at our sport as it is. They're looking at it through these other tinted glasses. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think it's the reality of where we're at. So for us, it's cool to have something that we say is as sustainable as possible in motorsports. There's nothing cheap in motorsports, but at least we have a journey that makes sense. It's attainable. And then as you follow this journey and you get to the apex, if you're successful at that, in my mind, and I've been to all of them around the world, I think it's genuinely the best race. And if you are able to get to that race and you're able to be successful, if you look at some of the drivers that have made it there and been successful, they end up making careers out of the sport. We have one that works here full time with us, and just absolutely phenomenal. But I mean, he won that race in 2013 in NOLA, and that cemented him into a career in the sport. So it's a real thing that doesn't require mom and dad to have a mid 6-figure budget to do it, and that's just the reality of it, right?
One of the cool things too, and we talked about this a little bit, there's the regional programs, that's the Trophy Series West, the Trophy Series East. But even with just having the US Trophy Final, you've talked a lot, especially when we had you on earlier, Justin, talking about the fact when you brought in the Race Rotax program with J3, was the fact that you were focused on building the grassroots level, the foundation level, right? That was the initial edict of the Rotax program. It was going to be a club level racing engine that you took to service centers. Now you have a couple of new service centers we can talk about. Ohio Kart Parts and Race Factory getting signed up. You've announced them recently. The more service centers you have around, you're serving those clubs that run a tag program or a pure Rotax program. It feels to me you continue to push on developing that, that grassroots foundation that can feed your trophy series and of course the U.S. Final as well. That's so far away, so far removed from the top 5% you're talking about. Those national level programs where we EKN as well put a lot of focus on, covering.
Sure. Yeah, and I think with Rotax, it's so unique because from my standpoint, and I think it's the only brand that cascades from grassroots all the way to high-end international racing. And when you go to that grand finals, like that's the cream of the crop, right, of drivers around the globe. And so I think that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't quite get, because most products are either geared towards high-end professional racing, or they're geared for grassroots racing, or maybe they're somewhere in between, right? Where this product line doesn't change from, mini max, from grassroots mini max or junior max or senior max, all the way to the high end. The engine package in the program stays consistent. It's just you really go up this real Rotax racing pyramid, and I think for me that's awesome. And you mentioned Ohio Kart Parts and Race Factory, right? Ohio Kart Parts, owned by Chris McCrone. They're in the Cleveland area. They just made an announcement, a new facility that's going to be built in Cleveland. A lot of excitement there. And Race Liberante, who heads up the Race Factory MPG program, they're all over the country. They're a top-notch program. They're relocating, I think, to Whiteland, I believe.
Yep, they got a big shop. They're building a big shop at Whiteland. Yep.
In that area. So, those are key people that understand the sport, right? They understand what the new people that come in and it's the first time they're spinning the turnstile under the door of the kart shop. What do I get in? And I always view it as it's, karting's a ride. You want to ride the ride. You don't want to be working on the ride all the time. And I just, the Rotax package is just that. You hit the button, the battery's charged up off the trickle charger that they provide in the kit, and you get to go out and make as many laps as you can, right? We're talking 80 hours, 100 hours on an engine platform. Now, as they get into sport, they may, sort of obviously go down a different path, go, race a different series or whatever, which, there's no problem with that, because the more people that we're bringing into the sport, the more it makes it healthier. But I think we definitely have a phenomenal product, and it serves a significant purpose. And just to be able to have that product for what it is, but again, not just to keep underscoring it, but it has a journey from grassroots to becoming a professional in this sport. It's just an exciting program to be part of, to be honest.
Can you step back or give us maybe a 30,000-foot view of the kind of journey? You mentioned journey, but how about the journey of Race Rotax? Since when you guys decided that you were going to make a move and pick up this brand that hadn't really had no place at that point in the U.S. to where you are right now. Obviously, it's been a pretty great journey for you guys. You've been building slowly. And I know you've had a focus on taking the right steps at the right time, not overshooting anything in each year. It's been a kind of a methodical kind of step. Can you give us your thoughts maybe on the overall run through the last couple of years?
Yeah. It's been interesting, right? And then obviously we had the COVID hiccup in between it, right? So we've had sort of everything thrown at us, that you could have thrown at you, right? Especially, in a market that's probably controlled predominantly by one brand. So no, I give a lot of kudos to Rotax, Stefan Gruber and Helmut and some of the people there, but I give a tremendous amount, obviously, to my business partners, Jim and John Giacomelli. I think just a tip of the hat, I guess, not sounding too arrogant, but I struggle to find somebody in the United States that would have had the backbone to stick to this program and fundamentally do what we've done, which is build something from ashes. We're nowhere where we want it to be or where it needs to be or deserves to be, but obviously everybody knows where the program was when we took it over and where it's at now, and it has a pulse and it's breathing and it's growing, and I think that's all you can really ask for. So we're tremendously happy with that, and I think that's just kind of indicative of not that we're the best or any of that, but if you look at some of the other projects we've done, kind of been told we've been crazier more than once, and then what is it, whatever that is, if somebody copies you, flattery or whatever is the most form of flattery, so I think we've set the trend. We've done a lot of things over the years, But one thing that we've done is we've looked at the value, and then once we've seen the value in it, then we put the work behind it and continue to put the work behind it. And the Rotax thing's the same thing. We're going to continue to put the work behind it, one step at a time. And yeah, so it's been a journey. It's been tough. I'm not saying behind closed doors. Sometimes you're not like, holy cow, what do we do? In this game, and no different than you guys, 60, 50, whatever hour work weeks are normal. But yeah, sometimes when you're on, 30, 40 days in a row at 12 hours a day. But that's what drives you. I struggle to think of anything else I'd rather do. Right. And I know it's everybody that works in our company, we all have that, oh, what about this road less traveled or whatever. And we're definitely on the right path. And like I said, the product's good. And it's exciting and knowing how much work that we put in over those last 4 years to get to where we're at and to where we're going to go is, it's good. So no complaints.
You mentioned bringing new people into the sport. I want to go with this because it was very interesting. So, as I was preparing for the Super Nationals, my run last November, I decided to go down to the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, right? I'd spend a day with Alan, something I wanted to do anyways, but I wanted to see where I was and see if he could fine tune me a little bit, learning a new track very quickly. I'd never driven that track before. So that was kind of part of my idea. But for the first time in 20 years, I raced a Rotax. I drove a Rotax. I drove one, I think, back in, I want to say 2002 or 2003, something like that, in the Florida Winter Tour. But I had a chance to drive it, and again, like you said, push the button and away you go. And we had, I had a great time driving the engine. It's a fantastic engine and a fantastic school engine as well. And here's where I'm kind of transitioning here is that really cool news came out recently that you guys are working together with Ryan Norberg and his Norberg Racing Academy to have Rotax be the engine for his school, which I thought was a really great move for you guys.
Yeah, no, it was Ryan reached out. I want to say it was maybe end of last year. So I called him up, and obviously we've been last year we started the competition university out here in Arizona, which Oliver Hodgson runs, and that's we're probably 98%, just throwing a number out because I don't want to say 100 Rotax. So we talked a little bit about it and kind of what he wanted to do. And obviously that was really an easy fit. David brought up some of these kids that, have made it to open wheel and racing. And, Ryan was really sort of kind of in that whole Rotax, program when it was really good. And so, he's where he's at now is, his dedication to the sport and his craft. Right. And it started with Rotax and he's smart and he's clever and he's knowledgeable. And, he loved the package and he understands, the longevity of it and the way it can make you as a driver, a better driver, and all of those techniques. So for us to, have two certified sort of schools, his and then the one out here on both coasts, I think it really just speaks volumes of the brand, and it allows us to, again, to what you said, Rob, people are getting into the sport, sort of your, Bill Gates, when everybody had a PC when you were in junior high elementary, and you grow up and, nobody bought an Apple because, in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, whatever it was, you learned Word, right? So you went and bought a PC. So, anyways, it's really great. And like you said, people get in it and they can drive. And the best thing is the longevity, and it starts, and amongst a million other things, you're able to do your schooling, right, and spend your time doing laps, not spending time saying, hey, we're going to go to the coffee bar and have a drink while the mechanic fixes something. And I think that speaks volumes of, especially if you're getting people into the sport, right? You want to drive and say, wow, that was fun. Where do I buy one of these? As opposed to, wow, that was pretty fun when I was out there. Like, I don't know if I have, 15 hours a week to maintain a race car in my garage, right?
Are we going to see any other potential schools? Maybe is that something you guys are looking at as well down the line? More.
There's a couple potential inquiries that are sort of in the hopper, as you would say, but obviously we're relatively selective, right? We want to be, and not saying there aren't other good people out there that can do driver training, but you want to make sure that it's really sort of encompassing the brand values of Rotax, because anytime you're taking a brand of that nature, right, and you're tagging it to somebody, there has to be a phenomenal amount of trust, and there has to be a phenomenal sort of back end detail work to make sure that everything's represented correctly. So yeah, I mean, there's a few options. Will it happen this year? I would struggle to say what happened before the end of the year, but there's definitely some more inquiries and some potential in that area.
What about let's go back to the Phoenix Club. Obviously, you guys are based in Arizona now. You talked about Competition University being there with Oliver Hodgson. The club is become, a kind of a focused Rotax club. Is it a place where you're going to be able to potentially? I'll segue to the Club Backs program, but where you can kind of try things out. You guys are doing something different there at Phoenix, right? Which we talked about before we came on air, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, so it's been almost 5 years now, and so what we've done is we've based the competition side of our business out here. Our distribution side is still based in Pennsylvania. So with that phenomenal facility here at PKR8, about 20 minutes from us. And we've onboarded the Rotax program here, which has really revitalized the 2-cycle racing market here in Phoenix, for all the things that we talked about. And one things that we've noticed and we've onboarded is our senior category out here, where we don't actually use a senior engine. We use a junior engine, and there's some people that are locals that wish we use the senior, and part of me wishes that we use the senior as well. The senior Rotax engine is a phenomenal piece with, it's got the power valve. It's about 30 horsepower, where our junior max package doesn't have the power valve. It's about 24 horsepower, right? So you're looking at about 80 hours, give or take, maintenance on that. And, Rob, you did some racing this year, and Dave does a little bit. 24 horsepower in a cart, that's going to give you a workout, right?
It is,
so,
yeah.
I think a lot of people like that sort of horsepower range, right? It's relatively manageable. People can get in, do the laps. They're not having to be, a full-time triathlete to be able to manage. When you start getting up in the 30 horsepower, you really got to be ultra committed, if you will. So that we've seen a lot of growth in, and then obviously with the longevity of the engine, most people at the club are sending the engine back over the winter or one time throughout the year to get rebuilt, and that's it. So then that's allowing them to not have to own 2 engines, right? They're able to make all the club races. They're able to buy their tires and pay services through the local shops, which then allows us to spin the turnstiles and starting to show up to the grid with, I think it was maybe 2 club races ago. We had 15 or 16 in that senior category, which I think you would struggle to find a club in the United States where there's a 125cc water cooled, 24 horsepower sort of or more engine, where they're out there and it's not a tune-up for a national race, club race. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's true.
So it's exciting, and that's something that we've done, and we've got some interest from around the country and other areas, because it makes it really friendly for the teams and the shops and also the competitors when they can spend their time helping the competitors go faster, learn how to drive, or whatever it is. So it's worked really well so far for us out here, and so it's been good for the club and it's been good for us.
What's the difference between the junior? Because again, we're not the technical guys. We don't do engines. Because isn't it's just a cylinder, isn't it? The difference between a junior and senior.
So and that's the one thing that I guess you shouldn't assume everybody knows, because there could be some listeners that won't. The actual base of the engine from when you go from micro max all the way up to senior max is the same, right? Your wiring, loom, all of these things. It's there's an upgrade kit, as we call it, every step of the way you go, where you can upgrade your existing engine. So when you go from a junior to a senior, it's an ECU and it's a cylinder upgrade kit. So those are all SKUs. So it's relatively easy for a competitor to upgrade if they want to, or
go back and forth. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have downgrade kit, same thing. So you go senior to junior, right? The cool thing is actually when you go from mini to junior, that's the smallest gap in what you need to do, because it's the same cylinder, it's the same squish. So everything that you have to do to go from a mini to a junior is what we call outside the seal, meaning if you have a sealed mini max engine, let's say, David, for your son, and you say, hey, we're going to junior next year, you call up your favorite dealer or service center, you buy the junior upgrade kit, which is an exhaust and it's an ECU. And those are all things that you bolt onto the cart, and the exhaust flange, excuse me. And you can do that all in your garage at your house. And now all of a sudden, your son or your daughter's ready to go junior racing. So that's what's cool is when you get somebody that's like in that 10, 11 range, you're kind of like 10 all the way up to 15, right? You have one small change, right? And you're able to, not have to spend a ton of money for your kids. So yeah, it works out really well.
Yeah.
Dave, you got anything else?
No, I think that was it. Yeah, because again, its simplicity is obviously another thing as well too that we're seeing now in this generation of karters, because when we were younger it was simple, but we all worked on our own stuff. So that simplicity kind of helps bring in the new people. They say, here, you can do this on your own, or you can go to your service center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Justin,
absolutely.
Is there anything else maybe you had on your hit list that you wanted to bring up? Otherwise, I've got like one final little bit to throw out here.
No, I think we're good. And, I think just to underscore what David said, we live in a world now where 15, 20, 25 years ago, you worked 8 hours a day, general people. Now I struggle to find somebody that works less than 10. So the amount of free time people have to be able to be part of a sport like this that is so intense in terms of general nightly, week-to-week maintenance, it's tough. So in order to keep the sport kind of going in the right direction, the simplicity, the easy use are really important selling features that we need to have to be able to sustain and grow our market share.
Yeah. So real quick, we just got to hit on it because it was posted as a question. David Dodson wants to ask, when will we see electric Rotax platform in America?
There we go. They came out with a new program, the E10, which you guys probably saw, and the E20 is phenomenal, but it's kind of its own beast in a good way. The E10, I think, I'm hoping we see something over here, even if it's a demo, when we're at the trophy final. With that package, I think it resonates so heavily because that package fits on any standard kart, and it's chain driven, right? 219 chain. So I think when all of us that have been in the sport since we were kids, we want to visually see something that makes sense. And although it doesn't make sense from a powertrain standpoint to have a chain drive system where you lose a lot of power, it makes sense to us, right, as karters. So we got a lot of positive feedback on that, people that were highly interested. So maybe, Dave, if you're good and you're at the final, we'll let you do a test drive in the E10.
I'll start working out right now.
Well, I know that so let me wrap up with this, because I know that you guys, they have the electric karts, of course, in action at the grand finals, which will be in Bahrain this year. We talk all about the grassroots level, what you guys have done to rebuild the Rotax program to the same ideologies it had when it first came out, to be this club engine that was easily serviced to go racing with, and the Grand Nationals. But Justin, you throw yourself and think back about going to some of these grand finals. It's interesting, I think, just emotionally for you guys. You guys could go from being racers yourself. I got lots of pictures over here in the archive of you running a Margay back in the day, or a Tony Kart, or I pulled one out of you and Eric Jones. I think we were at it was Quincy. But how's it feel to be going to be taking a national team, which is essentially your national team for all intents and purposes, when you guys go to these big events? Everybody's decked out. You got the red, white, and blue on. They're racing for their country, and you're kind of the head of that. I just want to kind of go on the personal level of this program as well.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cool, right? I mean it's beyond that. It's really sort of I guess rewarding, because you don't. I don't want to say most people, you don't kind of choose to get in this business. It's something usually you're in it when you're a kid, or your dad was in motorsports, or maybe your mom, I don't know. And you grow a love for it. And you have all these dreams and aspirations as a kid. And sometimes we don't have enough time to sit back and say, hey, I'm on a plane and there's 12 people that are actually representing the country, the United States, albeit a small segment of sporting in the world. We're still doing it. So pretty honored. We've had really great people over the last years. We've been doing it, and I think one of our sort of mandates this year is the guys around here hear me say it all the time, but it's time to elevate Team USA this year, and we're looking to go to Bahrain. And I got a big challenge really to any American driver out there that is racing Rotax now, or they're not racing Rotax right now. It's just take it serious, and you should really think about coming to the US final and showing what you have, and being able to go across the pond on even playing field and race against the best drivers in the world, not make excuses, race against the best drivers in the world and represent your country and get the job done. And there's no reason. I've been to all the races here, and we still support all the other platforms with our other verticals of business. I just saw Dave last week. But there's no reason that when we're going to Bahrain, we're not taking the best drivers that have United States passports, and we're not taking it to the British. We're not taking it to the Germans and everybody over there. And I think it's time that people realize what's going on, and let's elevate. And, you know, you're all invited to the U.S. Trophy Final. If you have any questions, contact me directly, J3 Competition. There's a phenomenal amount of race teams out there in this country that are professional. They all know Rotax. They're all good at it. They might not want to say it publicly, right? So it's a great opportunity in September. And we want to be in Bahrain with the best of the best, and representing this country like it needs to be represented on the world stage.
10 years ago, a U.S. winner, right? 2013 at NOLA.
Yeah, I mean, you got
Juan Manuel Correa,
right? You got Oliver Askew there. You know, we got the photo of those guys with the American flag
Joey
and the tattoos.
Yep. I was just saying, don't forget Joey.
Joey
now.
Wimsett. Yeah.
Well, Joey Wimsett. There we go. We go. DD2. It's always the unforgotten son sometimes, right?
But some
you
of
know,
the best racing at the grand finals, without a doubt.
I mean, you know, there's, you know, every kid's watching Netflix and F1 and this and that, and, you know, Max Verstappen goes up or Lewis Hamilton and they play the country's flag, and, you know, everybody's sitting there going, oh, that's so cool. I mean, this is your opportunity.
This is your opportunity.
This is your opportunity to get to Newcastle and sit there and hear the Star Spangled Banner played in Bahrain for your country and bring it back home. So it's an open invitation to everybody. It's something that if I was competitively racing, wouldn't have been good enough to win or get a trip to go. But I would have made sure that, you know, I would have rubbed whatever nickels I had together back then to be at Newcastle to have that opportunity to be able to represent it at the most legit race in the world. And, you know, hey, you know, Canada's been beating us too many years. You know, Rob probably likes that, but you know, we can't get beat by, you know, to get beat by a country that has snow on the ground for 6 months of the year. That's unacceptable.
But hey, BRP, you know, BRP does have, you know, headquarters in Canada.
A little bit in Montreal. Yeah, maybe I need to do some fact checking. Maybe there's something going on. Canadian drivers have been getting something a little bit special all these years, right?
Well, listen, I think
you heard it here. You heard it here first.
I think the tagline there to cap this off is perfect for the U.S. Trophy Final. It's an open invitation. There's an opportunity for every driver in the country. You can rent a Rotax. You can go buy a Rotax. You can make the investment yourself, do some Rotax racing, or if you have to, you rent one and come and be part of this race, because it's going to be a big one this year. David's already said triple digits. I think it'll be the same way. Last year, we had, I think, 72 or 75, and it was a tremendous weekend. The racing was so good. It was an honor to be able to call alongside Henry Baudet. Looking forward to doing that again this year. That's it, right, Justin? It's an open invitation.
Yeah, let's go.
September. Do it. Hey,
let's
listen,
go.
Justin, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Justin Stefani, folks, from Race Rotax. David, we've you know, you've been with me now for close to 20 years, and Rotax was a huge part of that early on. I like seeing the resurgence of it, because I like the grassroots kind of focus to build that Grand Nationals kind of thing again, where anybody can come from any club with a chance to go to the big show.
I gotta believe that if there was a shift and this whole Rotax program was what it was when it started, you know, say let's start it in 1990. Just think of all those names that could have been going to the Rotax Grand Finals in the 90s. Like Justin would have been probably, you know, again, all these guys that were going around to street races and doing all this and that, you know, they would have went to this one big race to try and get a ticket.
Yeah,
because, you know, back then and even now, to be able to represent your country at, you know, a European or world championship, it's a lot of money. I mean, you got to lay down a lot of dough to be able not only to go, but to be competitive as well, to where, again, you could be a club racer, pay your dues, get your racecraft going, take that same package, go to the U.S. Trophy Final, be competitive, and possibly earn a ticket to go compete against the entire globe.
That is exactly that.
I keep telling people that's why I love the Rotax Grand Finals. It's just,
and listen, the minute you walk into the paddock, it's a life experience.
Oh, without
Because
a doubt. There's nothing else like it.
No, that's very true. Yeah, 100%. Well, folks, there you go. We'll touch back with Justin, of course, midway through the season. We'll be covering the West Series, Trophy Series West, Trophy Series East. We'll be trackside as well at the U.S. Trophy Final at Newcastle once again this year. Really looking forward to that one for sure. Big thank you to Justin for joining us. Again, this was episode 65 of our Face2Face. Another one of our new EKN Prime Time shows. David and I, we're getting old to the point where it's almost bedtime, so these are really good for us, especially when I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. Folks, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. This, of course, become a podcast. It'll be on EKN Radio Network. And as always, you can watch all of the shows that we have here on Face2Face, all of our prime time, all on demand on our YouTube channel. Make sure you click the subscribe button. We do appreciate that as well, too, folks. More subscribers, the better. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Big thank you to Justin Stefani from Race Rotax on behalf of David Cole. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.